Hey everyone, this is Alan over at Cobblers Plus. I was just gonna show you guys real quick, quick shine video on how we do it here at the shop with leather uppers. This shoe here is a two-tone a little bit. You can't tell too much, I guess you could say, but it is two-toned. We put on some new heels that will get buffed up a little bit later, and already did some of the edge work on them, but I'll show you guys a little bit more how you can maintain these at home, and this is the process that we usually take with them. So I'm just going to start out with just one shoe. I already took out the laces on them, and we're going to start out with our Renomat. Mainly we use the Renomat a lot just because we don't know who used what on it and how long ago and everything. I've already used some compressed air to kind of blow off some of the dirt and dust off of it a little bit. But yeah, you can see somebody else has done some work on it in the past as well too. So these are a little funky, in other words. This is a older Cole Haan. I don't know if you guys can see it there, but it's a bit of an older model. So it's one of the few nice ones that they made years ago. But unfortunately, it looks like whoever did some work on them before did a little damage on it. They tapered down the heel a little bit, and you're not supposed to, at least not this much on a dress shoe, but it happens. But anyways, before I keep talking too much, we're going to start out with our Renomat here. Most of you guys have smaller bottles. This is one of the larger ones because we use so much of it. Make sure you shake it up good. I've got just a little bit left in this bottle, so I'm going to toss it after it's all gone. But just take a regular rag. Don't use paper towels. Paper towels tend to stick quite a bit to the shoes and everything. You don't want to do that. But just a regular towel is plenty good because we're just trying to clean it. Just kind of go through it and try to remove any excess waxes. Now, if you're somebody who shines shoes or has had shoes shined, you may have to put a little more elbow grease into scrubbing it down just to try to get some of that old wax and polish off. But that kind of gives you guys an idea of what we're doing here. We're mainly trying to remove the waxes and polishes that have been layered on there for some time. Renomat is amazing for cleaning the old waxes and creams, but if you have a stain or a spot, it may help it, but it may not completely get it out as you may intend to, just because this stuff is specially formulated to help remove any old waxes and everything, and dirt and debris as well. But it's a little bit weaker than, say, acetone or spot remover, just because you don't want something too strong if you're trying to clean up your whole shoe and get it prepared to be shined. So Renomat is awesome if you have a particular spot that's just not wanting to come out and it's stubborn. Your better option would probably be to use a spot remover or acetone. But again, our goal here is to try to remove any old waxes and polishes that may be on these. I'm not applying too much pressure necessarily on them. Just a few spots here and there that I might scrub a little bit harder, just to hope that it works better on that spot, just because right there's a bit of a scuff there, and we're going to be taking care of that as well. But anyways, that gives you an idea. Now, Renomat is solvent based. It probably would be the strongest cleaning solution that you can get from the Saphir line, but it's still delicate enough where it's not gonna, pull the original pigment off unless you're sitting there scrubbing that single spot for quite some time, quite heavily. So Renomat will be your best friend basically to do a bit of a deep clean without actually removing any of the pigment from the leather itself. All right, now because it's also solvent based, it does tend to dry fairly quick. You can still see a few wet spots up here. Again, this is two-toned, I was saying, but this is actually two different leathers here. It's a bit softer, and I can't make out, it feels like pig skin actually. Yeah, so I think this section here is pig skin, and this here is your basic cowhide that you come across on most shoes that's full grained. And yes, these are actually full grain leather, which is quite surprising for an older, well, for a Cole Haan in general, but again, this is an older pair. All All right, so the toes have dried up. That pig skin is starting to dry up fairly quickly, but we're gonna start out by working on the toe anyways. We're gonna move on to our Renovator Cream. Now today I am using all Beauty Du Cuir stuff, just to let you guys know. I'm not using any of the Medaille Dior. I'm gonna go with our Renovator. I do like to use the dauber brushes with it. It tends to get at the surface area better. The other thing is actually all this broguing here. If you're using a towel, you get some of that Renovator or any other creams kind of stuck in there sometimes, and you have to try to really work at trying to get it out with that towel. But with the dauber brush, actually, horsehair dauber brush, you can work that spot just a little bit and get all that excess out fairly quick. That's why we prefer to use it. Also, again, like the Renovator, you guys saw, or the Renomat, you guys saw, it's a larger bottle. I've got a large thing of Renovator Cream. Used quite a bit of that stuff. I was so excited when it came in. Thought I was gonna scream like a little girl. So happy, because we use quite a bit of it. And it smells amazing. Again, the Renovator though, the goal of it is to mainly condition. It works fairly well as a very, very light cleaner because this is mainly water-based, so the water in the Renovator Cream will do some cleaning as well for you. Now, the Renovator from the Beauty Du Cuir line, again, it is water-based, but it is also mink oil-based too. So the key ingredient in it is mink oil, and it has some beeswax. So it'll give you a little bit of waterproofing as well, and protect it. Now the Medaille Dior, it's got the added lanolin, and it's much more refined as well. So it's definitely higher quality. But again, I prefer to use the Beauty Du Cuir line on lower grade leathers, things that are not full grain, just because it seems to work a little bit better for those cases. But anyways, if you were to just pick one cream or product, in other words, that you would use for your shoes, the Renovator Cream is definitely what you would want to go for, because it does your very light cleaning with that water. It does condition, and then the beeswax in it will actually help give it a little bit of a shimmer and shine. So if you had to pick just one product, Renovator Cream will be your best friend. But in our case, we're not just using Renovator Cream today. I went through and I made sure to get every little nook and cranny I can with the Renovator. I'm going to take my little horsehair brush, because I don't want too much excess just sitting in certain spots, and just give it a little bit of a buff over. I'm not actually trying to shine them quite yet. I'm just kind of buffing them over to get some of the excess out. Alright, so we're back here again. We allow these to dry for just a little while, and you can still see that it's a little dark in some of the spots on that pig skin. Now, do keep in mind, pig skin, also goat skin, they're very, very soft, so they take on a lot of moisture, a lot of creams and polishes very easily. To have it dry and go back to original color, you might need to give it a couple of days, especially because the Renovator Cream is mink oil based. Now, I did talk to this gentleman, and I had mentioned it to him before that is going to darken up here, and he said he's perfectly fine with that. Just because it's an older leather, he'd rather have it moisturized and taken care of than have it just strictly look only nice, you know. But kind of gives you an idea. This is before and after with just the Renovator here. I did, before ending the video, I forgot to mention, if you're using a dauber brush, make sure you kind of wipe it off just a little bit with a cloth. Kind of helps wipe off some of that excess amount of polish or cream that you might have on there, especially because there's beeswax in this Renovator Cream. It's a lot better to allow it to get wiped off than let it just sit and dry, and then it gets all hard and crispy. You could get it hard and crispy if you want to, and have the little pieces kind of fall off. Perfectly fine, and whatever you'd rather do. Alright, so we've allowed these to dry for a good little while, and next we are going to apply some the Seraphim Cream, give it some pigment. We're not applying this on the whole shoe though. We're just applying it just on certain areas that have quite a bit of wear, which is usually the heel, the toe. You know, those main spots tend to get pretty beaten up. Now, if you have a two-tone, you can definitely use just strictly neutral all over it if you wanted to, but we're trying to restore at least a little bit of the color. Before I actually apply that, I'll show you guys real quick. So if you're just using strictly Renovator Cream, you saw the difference between the two shoes there. That Renovator Cream definitely helped restore quite a bit of life to that shoe. But after the beeswax and everything kind of dries in here, you can just give it a little bit of a buff, just a little bit, and you can see that it gives it a little bit of a nice shimmer, and that's that beeswax working in it. So just to give you guys an idea, but again, we're gonna be taking it a step up a little bit more, and we're gonna be using a dauber brush again. Same reason, because it tends to help a lot with that broguing in there, and you can get a lot of those creams out of there if it gets into the broguing too much. See, just circular motion. We're just trying to apply it and get it in everywhere. I'm trying to avoid that pig skin as much as possible. But it might get on there just a little bit, just kind of wipe it off, so I haven't gotten any on there yet. But I'll get around the eyelets there, get that tongue nice and good. A lot of people miss the tongue. You know, you don't have to always pull out the laces or anything, but you know, every once in a while when you do a nice deep clean, you may want to remove the laces and get that tongue condition, maybe try to restore at least the color a little bit. Now, you are going to have marks left over on your tongue from your laces that are just pretty much unavoidable to get rid of. I don't know if I could open it wide enough, but right down in there you can see that X from the laces. That is very normal. You can scrub it all you want, but you're going to have a darker spot from those laces. You know, just because it's a lot of tension and it's pressing down on that leather and squeezing the pores together so much, and just darkens it up, so you're not going to be able to get those out that easily. Sometimes you can, just because it'll turn out to be a little bit of dirt, but if you realize after scrubbing it for a good while with a cleaner and it's just not coming off, it's mainly because those pores have been squeezed together so much, and it's going to stay dark like that. And it's better to leave it alone. Don't try too hard to remove it, just because you're going to start pulling out some of that pigment from it and drying out that leather a little too much. Alright, so we applied some of that Seraphim Cream there. Now, Seraphim Cream, it does have definitely more pigment compared to, say, Renovator Cream, so it helps really restore the color nicely. It does have more beeswax as well in it, so that you're able to shine better. And on top of that too, it's got a little more solvents in it, so you can technically use it as a cleaning agent if you use neutral. I wouldn't recommend it, but the solvents are mainly in there to soften up the waxes that are in here. Anyways, we're gonna move on to our brush again. You don't have to give it too much time to really dry with the cream from this, well, with the Seraphim Cream. Sorry, I'm having a really off day. But if you're going to be taking it a step up like we are with using waxes, you're going to want to at least buff it just a little bit, just to kind of get some of the excess off, give it that base shimmer and an evened out coat. Because when you're applying that cream, sometimes you might not have too much of an even coat, even though it looks like it, but this kind of helps even it out and smooth it out better. Okay. We are going to move on to our Pate De Luxe Waxes from Saphir. These work very well because of the key ingredient, of course, in it is your beeswax and turpentine and carnauba wax. Now, this one, Saphir does actually mention that there is carnauba wax, and that's what brings out your true shines. You know, right now, after just buffing it after the Seraphim Cream, you know, you still got a bit of a shine there. You know, you can stop at this point if you really wanted to, you know, but it just depends on you how far you want that shine to go. Now, as far as applying a wax, I prefer to use my fingers directly, just because it tends to give you better control over how you're applying it, where you're applying it. The fingerprints on your fingers are usually plenty good to get just enough wax on there to get a nice spread and even coat. But that's what I prefer to use. Now, sometimes you could use a dauber brush as well. I've seen quite a few do that. And some use a rag or a shine cloth. For this purpose, I prefer to, well, for this particular step, I prefer to use my fingers. I'm just gonna make sure to get all around. Okay. Make sure to get the eyelet area. Alright, we're back here again. We gave these just a few minutes to basically dry and allow that turpentine to kind of evaporate out of there. Now we just take our horsehair brush and go through a little bit more. You can see my horsehair brush is very beaten up. This thing is actually probably as old as I am, you know, late 20s, somewhere around there. So 20-plus-year-old brush. I love this thing. I've been using it for so long. There's no brand name even on it. It just says 100% horsehair. But hey, it's working great. I love it. It's a full-size brush as well. Okay. Alright. Now we can stop it here as well, and you can maybe tell that it's even shinier now. Now our goal is always to mainly shine the toe because it's harder here in the toe area as well as the heel back here. Now those are harder portions of the shoe where they don't flex, you know, they don't bend and get those creases. So you can apply more wax onto the toe and the heel, but you never want to apply too much wax in this area here where it bends and flexes, even up in this section if you're working on that as well. The eyelet section as well, I don't recommend applying second coats too much either, just because it's gonna crack, it's going to look a little bad. I mean, you can see right there he's got the creases in those shoes from years and years of wearing them. So, you know, applying wax in there, you can do that, it'll fix it up nicely, but after just one wear, you're gonna take off your shoes at the end of the day, look at them, and all those waxes that hardened and dried are definitely gonna be visible. You know, even just from standing and looking down at your own feet, basically you're gonna see those waxes cracked. So just be advised that if you're gonna be applying more than 1 or 2 coats, even, you know, well, more than 1 coat, I should say, you definitely want to just apply it to the toe and the back of the heel. That's it, nothing else. But anyways, give you guys an idea, you know, the difference between the two there. And now we can get this even shinier, but we don't want to make it too shiny. Our main goal was to definitely restore the uppers a little bit more, give it back some of its nutrients. You know, it's not at 100%. I really would love to have the opportunity to try to restore these to 100%, but it's going to be a lot of work to do so. Again, mainly because of that softer leather here that we have. But now we've got that taken care of as far as the uppers. And if you want to, you can stop here, give it a little bit of buff over, and just move on as normal. Now, I would like to mention also the big key difference, you know, between using the Saphir products, you know, and say Kiwi, Lincoln, Angelus. Saphir is a bit on the pricier side compared to most of the other products out there, especially if you start taking the step up to Medaille Dior line, which is even higher grade, more refined, better, not necessarily better ingredients, but more of certain ingredients and more pigment. No harmful ingredients in here for your leathers. Now, you just have to make sure that you're using the proper polishes, creams, and products for that specific type of leather. Now, you know, this is full grain leather, you know, even some of your lower grade leathers too. You know, these steps that I've just showed you are plenty good. You know, there's no more needed, and they're not going to be harmful either to your full grain leathers. Now, again, you can always take your step up to Medaille Dior in particular if you want to, but we're sticking to the Beaute Du Cuir line, which is their blue label. Now, At this point, you know, because everything's all dry, you got a nice shimmer. Regular maintenance daily, basically every time that you wear these shoes, if you just take your horsehair brush, just have one or two, well, two of these preferably, so you have one for your dark colors and your light colors. In the morning when you get up and you're about to put on your shoes, just a quick little buff over like this will help bring back that shine a lot. At the end of the day as well, when you come home, take off your shoes, just a quick buff. You don't have to take multiple steps applying new cream or anything. Just buff it over real quick, and that's what really sets Saphir apart mainly, is because the shines tend to stay for longer. The waxes, the creams, they tend to nourish the shoes for a longer period of time and stay in that leather for longer, and the waxes tend to stay on that leather for longer as well. So just that regular maintenance every day after getting them shined with Saphir, you know, will definitely, you know, keep you from having to do this full-on maintenance of your shoes this often. You know, this kind of maintenance for your shoes is recommended maybe once every couple of months, sometimes even once every 6 months too. Just depends how often, of course, you wear your shoes. But just that little bit of brushing will definitely help extend not only the life of your shoe, because it'll take out some of the possible dirt and debris, but also bring back a lot of that shine. Once you start noticing that they're not really shining up so much with just a horsehair brush quick buff over, then it's time to most likely, at the very least, apply, you know, a little bit more of the Pate De Luxe wax on there and bring back some more of that wax onto that leather. Now, I did say I was only going to be using the Beaute Du Cuir products, but I thought just for the heck of it, I'd bring out some of the Medaille or Soul Guard. I know some of you who may be familiar with Saphir's products may have a lot of doubts about this stuff, but it's actually very great. You can actually see it in one of my other videos. I was testing it out with side-by-side comparisons with other products that you can use on the bottom of your leather soles. But this is a great vegetable oil that is highly refined, so it's designed specifically for treating the bottom of leather soled shoes. Now again, this shoe, somebody's already put on a rubber protective sole or sole guard in some cases. Some people may know as well, but what we're going to do is go ahead and treat a little bit of that leather right here, just to kind of extend the life expectancy of it. You only need a little bit. You're just going to put it on your regular towel and just rub it in nicely. Now you can use other products too. Again, I did some testing in one of our other videos with different things that you can use for the bottom of your sole if you're trying to restore the color or anything like that. You know, you're more than welcome to use any of the other methods. The reason why Soul Guard tends to be my personal pick always is because it really restores that nutrients to the bottom of the leather, because that leather is a lot harder, and the Soul Guard, because it's so refined, will actually penetrate into that leather much better, and it gives it some waterproofing aspects as well, so that the leather doesn't absorb the moisture as easily as it normally would. So this is definitely going to be my top pick for the bottom of the soles. As I had mentioned, you know, not everyone's a fan of it, but it actually works out very well. Again, this is vegetable oil based, and a lot of gentlemen have said, why can't I just go to the store and get some regular vegetable oil or olive oil or whatever it may be? It talks about it in my other video quite a bit more about why I didn't like that option, just because this is more refined. It tends to penetrate better into that sole, but the other thing is it's not as messy. You know, I just use a towel, no gloves or anything, and it's not all over my hands. It's not greasing anything up. It's not messy at all. And again, like I said, when that oil from the Soul Guard penetrates deeply into it and doesn't settle over top, that's the key feature about it, is that it's actually getting deep into those pores of that leather and not settling over top where you have regular vegetable oil or olive oil that has a tendency to settle over top, and you have to give it at least, you know, 3-4 hours to really soak in. So you know, this small amount that I just used to cover this whole surface area, you saw me just one time get a little small section onto my finger right there, you know, wiped off some of the dirt, it looks like, from the bottom of the sole. But it definitely extends that life expectancy of that leather. Even if you have a sole guard like this, or sole protector like this shoe has in particular, that's rubber, you know, you can't treat the leather underneath it, but we can at least treat the leather that's right in that area, and you can see it already starting to lighten up and go back to its original color. And it's going to darken the bottom of your sole just slightly, but very, very slightly. Give it maybe 30 minutes to an hour, and it'll go back to almost 100% back to what it was before. You can apply a second coat if you'd like as well. Second coat definitely helps significantly. After about an hour, usually that's how I prefer to do it. After about an hour of allowing that sole guard, the first coat, to soak in and dry, that's when I apply the second coat usually. But a single coat is definitely gonna help improve that life expectancy by a lot more of that bottom of the sole, just because it's not going to take on all that water and salt depending on the area that you live in. We're here in Colorado, so we get our fair share of rain and snow and hail, and then on top of that, during winter time, they tend to put a lot of the I can't remember what it's called, but it's basically salt. They put it out there on the roads, and when rainy season starts, like right now, it brings up that salt again, and you step into a puddle, and that leather just loves to absorb it very quickly, and it degrades that leather very quickly. Your soles aren't going to last as long. And just a little hint of you know, sole guard, or even at the very least, if you don't have sole guard, just a little bit of Renovator Cream will help it some. Now the Renovator Cream, because it's got the beeswax in it, it will definitely smoothen out that bottom. So if you're doing an entire treatment of the bottom of the sole, it may become a little bit more slippery than you anticipated. And the other thing is that wax is going to tend to rub off a little bit because the wax settles over top. It doesn't really penetrate deeply enough. The mink oil in it, however, will. The water and mink oil will definitely penetrate better into that sole and give its nutrients back. But you know, the other thing I have noticed, that the sole guard doesn't seem to rub off on carpet, you know, all that easily. You know, you really have to try working at it to rub it off. And the Renovator Cream, the Seraphim Cream, or whatever you may want to use to treat the bottom, it may have a tendency to rub off onto carpets a little bit more easily. Comparing this to, say, a shoe shine stand that you go to at the airport or wherever it may be, those guys like to get a high gloss shine very fast, you know, at a very affordable price. Our goal as cobblers, you know, we are trying to rejuvenate that leather. We're trying to bring back the nutrients so that your shoes may last for a longer period of time. You know, not only just trying to get it really shined up like crazy and, you know, high gloss necessarily, but our main goal is always to restore that upper. But either way, gives you an idea. Even though our goal is more to restore that upper and give it, you know, a longer life, we still give it a little bit of a shine, as you can tell there. So it gives you an idea what it looks like. You know, and this is how we treat the shoes here when they come in for a shoe shine. But anyways, thanks for watching. Hopefully this helped you guys out a little bit, give you a few ideas. Shoe shines vary from person to person. Everyone has their own tips and tricks, their methods, you know, their rituals per se, you know, that they do, you know, certain things step by step. But this is how we recommend it, and this is how we do it here at our shop, using mainly the Saphir products. We do use a few other brands as well, but our main product is Saphir. We love this stuff. It's, you know, it's by far the best out there that you can find in the market. You know, at the very least, the Beaute Du Cuir, it's a little more readily available. And then again, if you want to take it a step up to your Medaille Dior line by Saphir, you can do that as well. Have any questions, comments, leave them down below. Message us, give us a call, or if you're local here in the Denver area, swing by. We're here in the DTC area by Micro Center. But anyways, gives you guys an idea, and we'll see you next time.